Miles, thank you for asking this question. It's a really important one. How do you properly validate a franchise business? So the first thing I'll say is that I want you to follow the franchisor's lead, meaning do not start talking to franchisees before the franchisor says you are ready to validate. There's a process to follow, and franchisors are watching your ability to follow their lead even during the due diligence process, because part of being a successful franchisee is following the franchisor's lead. What you're willing to do now during the due diligence process is often indicative of what you will do when you're a franchise owner. So franchisors don't want you to go rogue. They want to be the leader of the process. They also want the opportunity to teach you what they can teach you about the business, so that by the time you're talking to their franchise owners, you're asking the franchise owners questions that legally the franchisor cannot answer. Questions that are more subjective to that franchisee's experience, like when did you break even, or how long did it take you to get your store open, or are you happy, and do you feel adequately trained and supported? Those questions are going to come from the franchisee's opinions, but questions about marketing or training that's going to prepare you, system questions, the franchisor can absolutely easily answer those questions and wants the opportunity to do that. Now, different franchisors control validation in different ways. Some bigger established systems will say, hey, our full list of franchise owners are in the FDD, have at it. Call anybody you want, good luck. Right? And that may feel like the ideal scenario because it feels like they're not hiding anything. They're just saying, hey, go call. But ultimately, I don't really feel like that's the best way, because you don't really know who you're getting to when you call people. And in my opinion, it's better if the franchisor would curate a small list of owners, maybe owners that live in markets that are demographically similar to yours, or franchisees that have gone through the latest training. So maybe they're franchisees that started in the last 6 months, or maybe franchisees that opened during the pandemic in 2020. Right? So when the franchisor kind of creates a list of people for you to reach out to, then when you call, you sort of know who you're calling. So you can better prepare the questions going into that call, right? And then after that, if the franchisor says, hey, anybody you want to talk to beyond that, have at it, then have at it if you feel like you need further validation. But a lot of really fast growing franchisors absolutely have to control validation simply because they have so many people looking at the opportunity, especially compared to maybe the number of owners they have up and operating, and they can't have every person who's thinking about this franchise calling franchisees. Think if you were a franchisee trying to ramp up your business. Do you want to spend your entire day answering the phone, talking to people that want to ask you about your opportunity? You're like, hey, leave me alone so I can go build my business and then I can validate to you. So those faster growing franchisors will often handle validation in group calls where they'll ask franchisees to raise their hand and volunteer to get on the phone for an hour, and they'll open up multiple phone lines and allow as many candidates looking at the franchise to log in. In 1 hour, one franchisee can talk to 20 people or 30 people or 10 people. So what's great about group validation calls, Miles, is that you may get to hear questions that other people have that you weren't smart enough to think about. There might be people that are a little bit ahead of the process and they know a little bit more, and so they're asking more detailed questions, and that can help advance your learning. I think another really good part to group validation is it gives you a sense of how fast a franchisor is growing. With all these other people on the phone, look, you said you were from Tallahassee. There might be other people on this validation call from your area. And so if the franchisor is putting a little bit of pressure on you saying, hey, Miles, we really need to know your level of, excitement about our opportunity because there are other people in the market. Well, if they're on that validation call, that franchisor is not feeding you a line, right? So it's helpful to kind of get a sense of how many other people in the country are looking at this opportunity, and then also just to feel the camaraderie that you're not the only one thinking these thoughts or asking these questions. There's other people out there with the exact same questions that you have. And sometimes that validation alone gives people comfort that, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm thinking about the right things. Because everybody, I don't care how experienced of an investor you are, everybody has self-doubts about the process. I mean, this is why I have a business, to help you know that you're asking the right questions and talking to the right people. And even with regard to validation, talking to the right franchise owners that can help you hear what you need to hear so you can say yes and feel confident about that yes. I really appreciate you participating by asking me this question. I hope that I've answered it to your satisfaction. For those of you listening, if you have a question that you would like to ask the Daily Coach directly and have me answer your question right here, face to face on Kim Daily TV, please follow the email on the screen right now.